Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Now Live at 4.
It's Friday. Without Michael Bruno here, it's
Amanda,
a little quiet. Come on, Amanda. There she is.
And Michael has the day off, but we do have a full show nonetheless, so let's get right to it. Here's what's making news on this Friday. President Trump is in Wisconsin for a fundraising event. The visit comes after a late-night series of tweets slamming Janesville native Paul Ryan.
Several people who prepaid for classes at a Madison yoga studio are still without money after the studio closed down unexpectedly last week. We'll share the latest on this.
And a tropical storm is getting closer to the Louisiana coastline and has the potential to become a hurricane before landfall tonight or tomorrow morning. We'll have the latest.
And we are preparing for a big heat wave. Let's take a look outside today. Oh, here's some drone video. The corn looks great.
Yeah, it does. It really, this heat and humidity really helped out a lot.
Soaking it up.
Picked up from where it was a slow start to the season. Only, quotation marks, very warm this weekend. Dave Caulfield's in the backyard. Only?
Yeah, I'm trying to have a little bit of fun before the really hot and humid weather gets here next week. So we're only going to be in the upper 80s for the next couple of days, but it will still feel like the 90s. Big heat and humidity on the way for next week. For today, we haven't seen really any clouds across southern Wisconsin. We have a cold front up to the north across portions of northern Wisconsin into the UP of Michigan, sparking some severe weather, but I don't think we'll see really any widespread thunderstorm activity until we get into tomorrow afternoon. We could see some thunderstorms make their way closer to southern Wisconsin. Live look in Madison on the WISC-TV Skycam. Lots of sunshine overhead. Currently at 85 degrees, west-southwest wind at 8 miles per hour. That dew point in the lower 60s. So a little bit warmer, a little bit more humid today compared to yesterday. 84 in Lone Rock, 87 in Boscobel, close to 90 in Prairie du Chien, and 86 in Janesville. Those dew points starting to creep up little by little, and as we get into tomorrow, we'll notice some more humid weather on the way before we start to get the really oppressive humidity by next week. So your day planner, temperatures will fall through the 80s into the 70s by later on this evening. A few more clouds come to town. I can't rule out a stray shower or storm overnight, but I think most of us will stay dry until we get into portions of tomorrow. So here is your first alert traffic update, taking a live look at Dane County. No major accidents or incidents to report, but we are starting to notice those normal Beltline buildups for this time of the afternoon. 24 minutes right now on the eastbound Beltline from Verona Road to John Nolan with an average speed only around 10 miles per hour. So expect to have some delays if you are traveling out of Madison this afternoon, and some other routes in and around Madison looking pretty good. The Beltline to Janesville, that's 27 minutes with an average speed of around 65 miles per hour. That is your first alert traffic update. We've made some adjustments to our temperatures and heat indexes for next week. You won't want to miss that in your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, we'll check back in just a little while. Thanks, Dave.
And we start with news just into the Channel 3000 Alert Center. The Federal Trade Commission has approved a settlement with Facebook officials worth nearly $5 billion. The settlement comes after a long-running probe into the social media company's privacy issues. The settlement is expected to include privacy restrictions related to how Facebook uses information when it comes, and also comes as no surprise to Facebook that the company said in April they were expecting to pay up to $5 billion in a settlement. We'll have more on this story on channel3000.com. President Trump took several jabs at former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan today before heading to Milwaukee, where he just finished a speech.
He says the Janesville, Wisconsin native showed poor leadership. Our Amanda Quintana is here with more on why this is all coming out now. Amanda?
Yes, well, on Twitter this morning, Trump called Ryan a, quote, long-running lame duck failure. This comes after excerpts from the book American Carnage by Tim Alberta came out, where Alberta says Ryan saw retirement as the escape hatch. Ryan, who retired from Congress in January after 20 years, saying Trump, quote, didn't know anything about government. I wanted to scold him all the time.
So Paul Ryan was not a talent. He wasn't a leader. When the people in freedom and great congressmen wanted to go after the Dems for things that they did very badly, he wouldn't give subpoenas, whereas Nancy Pelosi hands them out like they're cookies. Paul Ryan was a lame duck for a long time as Speaker.
President Trump went on to say Ryan lost control of the House, and when then presidential candidate Mitt Romney chose Ryan as his VP candidate, Trump told people that's the end of his run. President Trump is in Milwaukee right now, one of 2 Midwest stops where he will campaign for re-election. Of course, in 2016, Trump was the first Republican to win the state since 1984.
Amanda, thank you.
The Trump administration continues its focus on immigration policies with raids planned for this weekend to round up undocumented immigrants already in the country. This comes as Democrats on Capitol Hill are focused on the treatment of families detained at the U.S.-Mexico border. Vice President Mike Pence is in Mexico. He's headed to the Texas-Mexico border this afternoon. The vice president will tour a detention facility where families apprehended at the border are being held. The vice president's border visit comes ahead of planned immigration raids this weekend, targeting thousands of immigrants who already have deportation orders.
President Trump wanted us to be here, and he wanted the cameras to be here so that you could see firsthand how these families are being treated.
Many of them have U.S. citizen children. Those parents will now be separated from those kids, just as we saw family separation happen at the border.
The roundups are expected to be carried out in 10 cities across the country.
Labor Secretary Alex Acosta stepped down today, saying that he did not want to be a distraction to the administration for his handling of a sex abuse case years ago. Acosta has been under fire for how he handled Jeffrey Epstein's previous sex trafficking case. President Trump accepted the resignation while praising Acosta.
I do not think it is right and fair for this administration's Labor Department to have Epstein as the focus rather than the incredible economy that we have today.
He made a deal that people were happy with, and then 12 years later, they're not happy with it. You'll have to figure all of that out. But the fact is, he has been a fantastic Secretary of Labor.
This week's new indictment of Epstein on sex trafficking charges refocused attention on a 2008 secret plea deal Acosta made with the wealthy financier when he was a U.S. attorney in Miami. Epstein spent just 13 months in jail with work release after pleading guilty to a lesser charge. Deputy Labor Secretary Pat Pizzillo will become the acting secretary.
Around the state today, less than an hour ago, a jury in Milwaukee found a man guilty of first-degree murder of a Milwaukee police officer. Jordan Fricke was found guilty this afternoon on all counts. In February, he shot and killed Milwaukee police officer Matthew Rittner. Fricke told the jury that he shot Rittner in self-defense when the officer used a battering ram to break down a door and serve a search warrant.
More local news now. A Portage woman is facing charges related to the 2018 overdose death of another woman. 29-year-old Vanessa Berger was arrested today on suspicion of first-degree reckless homicide, delivery of drugs, and 2 counts of felony bail jumping. Police say the incident was part of a string of 4 overdose deaths in Columbia County in the span of a week. Berger is awaiting her initial appearance in court.
A husband and wife who led a German resistance group against the Nazis have been honored with a statue in Madison. Milwaukee native Mildred Fish Harnack attended UW-Madison before moving to Berlin to be with her husband Arvid Harnack, another UW-Madison student. While in Germany, the couple joined a Nazi resistance group that published an underground newsletter and provided information to the U.S. and Soviet embassies. They were arrested by the German government in 1942 and were sentenced to death. Mildred was the only American civilian ordered to be executed by Hitler himself. Today in Marshall Park on Lake Mendota, a statue was unveiled honoring Mildred.
You may be getting a refund from your electric company. Customers with Wisconsin's 4 largest for-profit utility companies are receiving refunds. That includes Madison Gas and Electric, Alliant, WPS, and Xcel. Low gas prices and the acquisition of a portion of the Forward Energy wind farm caused energy prices to be lower last year than expected, and more than $25 million will be refunded. Bliss Flow Yoga closed last week, leaving members with a lot of questions,
including if reimbursements will be given and what yoga studio they should turn to. Gabriella Becerra shares where members can look for answers.
The Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection is looking for answers by conducting a complaint review process. DATCAP says they're looking into details submitted through filed complaints. A part of the review process is determining if the business was required to file a proof of financial responsibility, which is necessary for fitness centers. In Wisconsin, a fitness center is defined as an establishment that for-profit provides as its primary purpose services or facilities that are purported to assist patrons in physical exercise and weight control or in figure development, including but not limited to a fitness center, studio, salon, or club. As part of the review, DATCAP will determine if Bliss Flow Yoga is a fitness center.
So because we'll determine those factors based on the complaints we've received, we're not yet able to just say definitively how the business should be classified. But again, this is all part of a complaint review process that's currently underway.
Harbor Athletic Club is honoring Bliss Flow Yoga memberships until August 31st. All that is needed is proof of a membership to Bliss Flow Yoga, and they will be given a Harbor Athletic Club membership, including access to both the main club and the wellness studios. Some parts of the club are additional fees, however, including hot yoga classes. If members are interested in going over to Harbor Athletic Club, they should go to their wellness studio to sign up, which is located across the parking lot in the back building.
And we will continue to follow this story. Thanks, Gabby.
A tropical storm is getting stronger as it eyes Louisiana. Let's take a live look at Bourbon Street in New Orleans, where people have been preparing for the storm. Dry right now. The effects from the storm are already being felt. Hillary Lane is in New Orleans, where residents are getting ready.
The city of New Orleans and the surrounding area are bracing for possible record rainfall when Tropical Storm Barry arrives in just a few hours from now. Residents have been told to shelter in place.
Man, woman, child, stay off of the street of the city of New Orleans, which we're asking from 8 p.m. onward.
The slow-moving storm is battering the Louisiana coast with strong waves and 50-mile-an-hour winds. Officials say the storm could strengthen into a hurricane and cause major flooding.
Prepare for heavy rain, slow moving. Still, this is what we're being told.
The storm forced thousands of attendees at the Delta Sigma Theta sorority convention to cut short their visit to the Big Easy. Members evacuated their hotels, but some, like Michelle Alexander, decided to ride out the storm.
We were hoping it wouldn't be so bad and we can just ride it out, so that's what we're doing.
Engineers have closed this gate to prevent surge waters from flooding the city. Hundreds of these gates have now been closed.
Time is short. If you have preparations that you need to complete, now is the time.
The Mississippi River is expected to crest at 19 feet, just a foot below the tops of the levees. Officials say some areas could see as much as 25 inches of rain. Hillary Lane, CBS News, New Orleans.
And officials in New Orleans postponed the Rolling Stones Superdome concert that was scheduled for tomorrow. They say it's just too dangerous.
R. Kelly was back in court today on federal sex crimes charges. The singer was arrested last night in Chicago. The family of one of R. Kelly's live-in girlfriends stormed a briefing this morning that the singer's crisis manager was holding in Chicago. The family of Joycelyn Savage is demanding to know where their daughter is.
I want to know where my daughter is. Where is she at? I can't tell you anything about your daughter. I do not work for your daughter.
The indictment alleges criminal acts over 2 decades dating back to 1999, both in the U.S. and overseas. It accuses Kelly of engaging in sex acts with girls under 18 and without disclosing that he had a sexually transmitted disease. Kelly denies holding women against their will in his home.
Well, there's more to come at 4. A nice, cool movie theater might be the place to be for the next week or so.
A week's worth of movies.
Yes.
When we come back, we'll preview the new action comedy film Stuber. That's when Live at 4 continues.
Let the design team at
There were records across the board on Wall Street as it appears interest rates may be going down. The Dow Industrials added 243 points, ending the week at 27,332. The NASDAQ Composite Index was up 48, and the S&P 500 cracked the 3,000 mark, adding 13 points. Again, all three records. What happens when an Uber driver finds out his ride is a detective on a mission?
David Daniel explores the new movie Stuber.
Please be a 5-star ride.
Hey! Uber?
Yeah, be cool, be nice.
Dave Bautista and Kumail Nanjiani hit the gas as an action comedy power duo in Stuber.
Hi, ladies.
What the hell's going on?
You selected the Uber pool option.
Uber what? Ladies, official police business.
Is that even real?
Get out of the car!
It's just their ability to riff with each other. A lot of the comedy is drawn from conflict in these movies, and they were great at riffing and taking the crap out of each other.
Nanjiani says his action movie debut was more challenging than he expected.
Watching him was very helpful, but it's interesting because normal, like if you're doing like just acting, you sort of have to turn your brain off and just be in the moment, whereas when you're doing action acting, it's the opposite. It's very technical, so you're always thinking, right? Is that right? You're always like,
No,
I do this, then
for
the next
sure.
move is this. It's almost opposite.
It's a lot of thinking, and it's a lot more difficult, I think, than people realize. I even struggle with it.
Take the shot!
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
That looks like a funny one, yeah.
Could be very funny. Well, stay with us. There's more to come at 4, including a preview of what's coming up on CBS Sunday Morning.
And then coming up next on News 3 Now at 5, we're clearing up the confusion about if gambling machines in Wisconsin bars are legal. Our Rose Schmidt reports tonight at 5.
Well, take a look at this. Sometimes things don't go as planned. A Georgia mom ordered a birthday cake for her daughter with a Moana theme, but the Dairy Queen cake maker thought she said a marijuana theme. Needless to say, stony baloney hilarity ensued. The 25-year-old birthday girl said the DQ employees apologized and offered to make another cake, but her mom thought it was so funny she just accepted it. What else could they say except, "You're welcome"?
Well, thank goodness it was a 25th birthday. And not like a
Well, My Little Pony's got a joint.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, I could see how that mistake was made. It sounds very similar.
A 25-year-old, though, is into Moana?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, that's another good question.
Yeah, maybe there was
Here's another part of the story.
Well, a man in Belgium set out to set a Guinness World Record in an event that does not exist. And you'll see why.
Yeah, so 48-year-old Jimmy Defrene sat on a toilet for nearly 5 days this week in a bid to set a world record. Jimmy set himself a challenge of sitting for 165 hours on a toilet set up especially for the feet in the middle of a bar. Oh, thank goodness. The bar stayed open throughout the attempts so friends and family could stop by for a chat.
Having dinner?
Oh my gosh. He was allowed, now, I mean, it's not a barbaric competition by any means. He was allowed 5 minutes off every hour, and ironically, he needed toilet breaks as the bar toilet not plumbed in, shall we say. But alas, Jimmy gave up this morning. This is some sad news. After 116 hours, so well short of his goal of 165.
But there's still no world record to set.
I mean, some of these world records.
I know, aim higher, you know.
As it were.
Yeah.
All right, getting ready for the big heat wave.
Yeah, I wish we could flush all this heat and humidity out of here. Not going to be the case, though, especially as we get into portions of next week. My first alert forecast is coming up right after the break.
Have you heard?
Good afternoon. Happy Friday. We've seen a lot of sunshine on this Friday. Really not too many clouds. They have stayed to the north. Those clouds have along a cold front. Really easy to see where that front is as showers and storms continue to form a little bit closer to Rhinelander. Some severe weather popping up across the upper peninsula of Michigan. Not Wisconsin Mountain Dew, Michigan. We are noticing those showers and thunderstorms dip a little bit farther south. I don't think that us across southern Wisconsin really have to deal with those showers and thunderstorms until we get to tomorrow afternoon. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. We're also talking about Tropical Storm Barry right now, really just off the Louisiana coastline, moving at 6 miles per hour, so moving really slowly, and that's going to be the big story with this. Yes, it could be a hurricane, it could not be a hurricane. Really, that's not the major headline. We need to still talk about the slow-moving nature of this system, and that's going to create a lot of flooding concerns for portions of Mississippi and Louisiana. So this continues to move north. Note the time here. This is about Monday or Tuesday, and there is a chance that some of this moisture could get far enough north to bring us across southern Wisconsin some showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday and Thursday, but the chances still don't look that great for that. It does look like our temperatures may go down a few degrees for the middle of next week, but I still think we'll hit the 90s. A slight chance for showers and thunderstorms for Wednesday and Thursday. All the other days, we really don't have much hope of breaking that heat. Hot and humid with high temperatures in the lower to middle 90s. Heat index values anywhere from 90 to, especially as we get into next weekend, folks, we're talking about heat index values in the mid to upper triple digits. So about 104 to 109 at times. That is really dangerous heat. So we'll watch that possibility very closely. We really start to see those 90s pop up as we get into the start of next week. Monday looks to be a very hot and humid day. And then as we get into next weekend, those are really the really hot spots. I mean, we're still talking about the hot weather lasting through all of next week, and that amount of heat and humidity back to back is really, really tough to get through. So make sure that we practice our extreme heat safety tips, staying hydrated, take frequent breaks. If you have to be outdoors, limit that strenuous activity. Check on those elderly family members and pets as well, and find those public spaces with access to air conditioning. It was a little bit on the warm side for sure across southern Wisconsin today as well, with wall-to-wall sunshine in Platteville and our Queen Bee Radio Skycam. Still looking at those mostly sunny skies on the Edgewater Skycam in Madison. Man, that lake looking very nice to take a dip in on days like today. The high temperature, 85 degrees, so a little bit above normal for this time of year. But we'll see those 90s become more consistent as we get into next week. 86 in Janesville right now, 87 in Boscobel, and double 8s in Prairie du Chien. Those dew points starting to creep up a little bit into the lower 60s. We'd call that sticky, especially as we get a little bit closer to 65 degrees for a dew point temperature. For tonight, we'll be in the upper 60s for a regular temperature, mild and more humid. A shower and thunderstorm can't be ruled out, but I think the better shower and storm chances get here as we get into tomorrow afternoon. Very warm and humid with temperatures in the upper 80s, close to 90 degrees. So on future track, we notice still pretty quiet as that front gets a little bit closer overnight. I can't rule out a shower and storm overnight, but really not looking at too many of us picking up on those rain chances. Now, as we get into tomorrow, a few showers and storms are possible late into Saturday, and we can't rule out maybe a stray shower and storm on Sunday as well. So that may keep our temperatures down just a little bit on Sunday, but really as we get into next week, there's just not that many good rain chances to help with that thermometer reading. So we're going to be in the lower to middle 90s for basically all of next week into next weekend as well. We could be talking about 8, maybe 9 straight days of 90-degree temperatures. And when you factor in that humidity, especially towards next weekend, it could feel like the middle to upper triple digits, 105 to 110 in some spots. That's dangerous heat, so we really need to take this seriously.
Is that any kind of a record to have that many 90-degree days in a row?
So the record was 15, actually, back in 1901. But if we start to encroach on that 8 or 9 straight day mark, that would definitely get us on the list of the top 5 longest
In
streaks.
1901, there was no air conditioning.
Oh man, that's a scary thought. Oh boy.
It's Alert Week. Let's
Yeah,
get a new
alert.
thing.
Gary said it's not in the budget. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully we won't need it again.
Thank you, Dave. Chris Reese will be here over the weekend to keep you up to date on the weather.
And then stay tuned for CBS Sunday Morning. Jane Pauley is with us now, live from New York with a preview of what's coming up on Sunday morning. Good afternoon, Jane.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, it's been 50 years since one of America's and mankind's greatest achievements, the Apollo 11 mission that sent 3 astronauts to the moon and back. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, though Collins never actually set foot on the moon. But he tells Jeffrey Kruger that was okay with him. Here's a clip.
Do you at all regret not having closed that final 60 miles and left Collins' boot prints on the moon?
No. I felt that I was an important part of it. When I was behind the moon, I later discovered I was being described as, oh, lonely, lonely, lonely. I was happy back there, and actually going down and touching the moon. Yeah, that was not high on my list.
Now, Mark, so far only men have walked on the moon, but they couldn't have gotten there without the help of some very talented women, scientists and engineers. And we've got a wonderful story of the seamstresses who, believe it or not, were making Playtex bras when they were tasked with sewing the spacesuits the astronauts wore to the moon.
That is fantastic. So what else is on the show?
Well, among other things, another anniversary-related story, Martha Teichner's appreciation of legendary CBS broadcaster Walter Cronkite's unrivaled minute-by-minute coverage of the moon mission. That's part of the history itself. And from space travel to the Underground Railroad, we meet the author of that Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, Colson Whitehead, who talks about his newest book. So that's just part of what we have to look forward to. So see you on Sunday.
Lots going on as usual. Jane Pauley live in New York. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
And you too.
Sounds a good show.
Sunday morning, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Still to come at 4, we all know a good diet and weight are crucial for heart health.
But a new study shows that even people who are already at a healthy weight can improve their risk of heart disease. We'll have more on that when Live at 4 continues.
Here's a live look at downtown Madison, which will be busy this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Art Fair on the Square, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, new research shows that even if you're not overweight, cutting just a few hundred calories from your diet can have big benefits for the heart.
Kenneth Craig has more from New York.
We know a good diet and weight are critical for heart health. Now, a new study shows even people who are already at a healthy weight can improve their risk of heart disease and diabetes.
Caloric restriction even in young people, even in normal weight people, can assist in reducing these markers that are predictive of future cardiovascular events. That's important.
Dr. Carl Pieper and researchers at Duke University Medical Center looked at 218 normal weight adults under 50 years old for 2 years. One group ate their usual diet. The other group was told to restrict calories, cutting about 300 calories a day on average. The study shows they lost about 10% of their body weight and significantly improved already good levels of blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and other markers. Well, it's not always easy to cut calories every day at first. Researchers say people in the study adapted over time and eventually needed fewer calories to feel full.
Just be cognizant of what you're eating, how you're eating, and the amount of calories that you're putting in.
Researchers say if you're looking to cut calories, reducing sugar and carbohydrates is a good place to start. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, New York.
And researchers say another good way to try to cut calories is to avoid snacking after dinner. That's where I always
good advice.
fall.
Well, still to come at 4, some 200,000 people expected to flood the Capitol Square this weekend for the annual Art Fair on the Square.
When we come back, we'll meet one of the over 500 artists taking part in the fair this weekend. Find out what makes it so special for her. That's when Live at 4 continues.
Good afternoon. Here is your Friday First Alert traffic update. Take a live look with me at Park Street and the Beltline. We're noticing some slow-go in both directions right now, eastbound and westbound. Average speed on the Beltline, as you might expect for a Friday afternoon, a little bit slow, anywhere from about 15 to 25 miles per hour. Eastbound from about Whitney Way through Park Street, closer to John Nolan Drive. Westbound, we're noticing those delays just past Park Street, a little bit closer to Verona Road. So here are your drive times right now, 29 minutes eastbound University Ave to the interstate, average speed of around 30 miles per hour, and some other routes in and around Madison on 151, Sun Prairie to downtown. That'll cost you 8 minutes, so a little bit on the slow side, average speed of around 20 miles per hour. And that is your First Alert traffic update.
All right, Dave, thank you. Armed with needles and a yarn of wool, teams of avid knitters dance to the deafening sounds at the first ever heavy metal knitting world championships in eastern Finland. With stage names such as Wool Fumes, Bunny Bandit, and 9-Inch Needles, the participants share a simple goal: to showcase their knitting skills while dancing to heavy metal music in the most outlandish ways possible. Here's a fun fact. Finland has the highest number of heavy metal bands per capita in the world, with over 50 bands per 100,000 people.
That is really a fun idea.
They're getting into it. Well, it's one of the most popular summer traditions in Madison.
Art fair on the square and off the square are back this weekend for the 61st year. Renee Rader Early is one of the exhibitors this year. She's made a career as a fabric artist at Hats of Fancy in Madison, and she has a very personal connection to her hats as well. Nice to see you, Renee. Welcome to Live at 4.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us about your hats and how this all got started.
Well, the very beginning, I always liked hats. I grew up loving hats and wearing hats and making my own hats, and sooner or later it evolved into a full-time business for me, which is going on 26 years now.
Oh, wow. And you design them, you make them, it's a one-person show.
Yes, I do everything.
For adults and for children as well.
Right, every age, men and women.
Now, I love hats, but I have never had the confidence to wear a hat. So my question for you is, can anyone wear a hat?
I would say yes, absolutely yes. Anyone can wear a hat.
How elaborate do you get them? Is it like the ones you see at like in England and Kentucky Derby?
I have made some pretty fancy hats, yeah, occasionally. But I do like to make hats that people can wear and just for everyday occasions. And I think I like that better. But every hat, I think, has a little touch of whimsy. So.
Is a hat and a fascinator the same thing?
Not really. Technically, no, I guess. The hat would fit all the way around your head, and a fascinator would be just a little perching.
Oh, okay.
Decoration.
Oh, interesting.
All sorts of designs, but you changed your designs a little bit about a year ago when you were battling cancer.
That's right. As a matter of fact, the Art Fair on the Square is my 1-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I finished my treatment the day after the Art Fair on the Square last year. And
so you make some of these sort of like that you wore.
When I was going through treatment and I needed a hat, it was winter, so I did want to wear a hat all of the time. And I just wanted something simple and small, and most of the time I wore this one, which is I call my brownie beanie, but it made me feel happy, and I think you should just wear whatever makes you feel happy. And so that inspired me to make a few more beanies, like with bright colors, just to make whatever makes you feel happy is what I figured you should just wear.
I love this one. I love the color and I love the fabric. It just is cozy and warm. In the winter, I would think this would be wonderful.
Yes, and it does come down over your ears pretty far. Anybody can wear it.
Look at the lining.
Yeah, look at the lining inside. The detail is beautiful.
Thank you.
This is how many times have you been to the art fair now? 20 sometimes?
20-some, I forget.
What do you like about it so much?
Well, it's very convenient for me. I live really close to the square, so I just walk there in the morning. And I know so many people at that fair. I know, like, you always see artists again and again from fair to fair, but my friends come by, so it's just fun.
It's a social aspect.
Exactly, yeah.
Are all of your hats unique, or do you make several of the same kind of hat?
Well, I would say some are repeated a few times, but most of them are repeated a few times. And once in a while, I'll make a totally unique hat. Because I do like to have one option for different sizes, so I'll make like that one in small, medium, and large. And I do try to do that at least.
So where's your booth this year?
It's on Pinckney Street, 631. That's my booth number.
Okay.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Art fair is Saturday and Sunday.
Yes.
And
all day.
Bring some water. It's gonna be a little
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Pick up a and continued good health to you, Renee.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Have a great art fair.
Thanks.
We'll be right back with a final check of your forecast.
Ready to roll playback?
Okay.
All right, it's going to get hot. Not too bad. Well, it's warm right now.
Yeah, it's warmer.
But it's going to get worse.
Yeah, it's going to get warmer and hotter and more humid as we head into next week. High-resolution Doppler showing any showers and storms are well to the north and east of Madison. So I really don't anticipate any shower or storm activity until we get into tomorrow. That being said, can't rule out a quick shower and storm overnight tonight. Temperatures across the great state of Wisconsin are in the 80s. Some 70s showing up a little bit closer to Lake Michigan, and those humidity levels, those dew points, are really starting to come up a little bit. You could see across portions of northern Wisconsin, they're getting closer to 70. I think we'll be in that territory for dew points as we get into next week. Tonight, mild, more humid. A shower and thunderstorm can't be ruled out. I think most of us stay dry. Temps in the upper 60s. Then as we head into tomorrow, starting off in the 60s and 70s, but quickly warming into the mid to upper 80s with partly sunny skies, a few showers and thunderstorms. They shouldn't be too strong. Could come through tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. So have the umbrella ready to go. Maybe a few more storms on Sunday. That could keep temperatures down just a little bit. I can't say the same for next week, though.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Monday here on Live at 4, Frank Lloyd writes, Taliesin is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We'll find out what that means for the Spring Green area.
And our tastemaker checks out the Riverview Restaurant at Taliesin. That's coming up Monday on Live at 4. Newshound Zoo Baby Roundup rolls on.
Lola and Louie have the birth announcements and other top animal stories of the week in the Newshounds Now update.
It's Newshounds Now update with Lola and Louie.
This week in the Newshounds Now update, a rare kangaroo,
a wobbly newborn,
and a whale of a tale.
But we begin in Moscow. For the first time ever, Russia is home to a pair of pandas. The male Ruyi and the female Ding Ding arrived at the zoo in April. After 2 months, they're finally meeting the public and enjoying themselves in their new surroundings. Not everyone in Russia can make the long journey to the capital, so the Moscow Zoo has created a 24-hour-a-day live stream. The pair will remain at the zoo for the next 15 years.
Closer to home, a beluga whale has given birth to a calf at Chicago's Shedd Aquarium. The 38-year-old mother, Myjack, delivered the calf on Wednesday. It's the first beluga calf born at the Lakefront Aquarium in 7 years. The calf, sex unknown yet, is about 5 feet long, weighs about 150 pounds. Shedd officials say mother and calf are doing well. They are not yet on public display.
Big excitement at an ecological park in Ukraine. An albino kangaroo born 4 months ago finally poked its head out of its mother's pouch. The father, George, is gray and red. Mom, Nancy, of course, is white. The baby will be living in mom's pouch for at least the next 2 months.
A wobbly baby giraffe stood up, or at least tried to for the first time,